Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I believe Bobby is going to be joining me shortly to give a first look. Oh, there he is. To give a first look at the NBA slate. What's going on? What's going on, Bobby?
Hey, man. Hey, how you doing?
Anything good in NFL yesterday?
No, not quite. Couldn't get the right mix. Actually, the only thing I did good at was my hand builds were much better than my running the Sims. That was for sure. I was very all in. A lot of my builds were Washington and worked out well enough to get there on some of them, but nothing great. How about you?
No, not much yesterday. Actually, I did okay on FanDuel and one of the couple classic slate lineups, but um, DraftKings not that great. So ready to just do the NBA today. So, are you going to be able to do 6 o'clock today?
Yeah, six o'clock I can do. I'm going to do today. It's still day by day. We've been volunteering and then trying to help donate stuff and things like that around here, and and getting adopting some pets and stuff like that, and have some friends who've come in and out staying with us. But I'm planning to be here for all the shows I can, and I can get as much my content up there as I can. Today should work out well. Knock on wood, assuming we don't get evacuated again.
Okay, because I'm doing something else at like 6. So
Yeah.
if I could get back at 6:30, if I know you started at 6, it would make me feel better. I wouldn't have to like scramble.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and I'm not playing a ton of lineups in the NBA tonight, so I'll start at 6, and then
Okay,
we'll figure out from there.
great.
Yeah,
Okay, you want to?
yeah,
I'll go ahead and share
yeah.
my
Let's do
screen.
it.
Yes. It's an interesting slate because of the timing of everything. I would have, well, I guess because it's only a 4-game slate, they're not, excuse me, only 6 games, they're not doing this. But if you'll see, you have
A
4
huge
games that start before 8 o'clock Eastern, and then a big gap between 10:30, the two 10:30 games. Are they playing the Laker game?
As of right now, we have the Lakers and Clippers at home. I don't know how that's possible because they just canceled them the other day, and they canceled obviously the football game, which is right next door to the Clippers stadium. So I'm very confused by the logic of what's happening. To be honest, sort of fits with what's been happening around here lately in general.
What do I know? I thought they played in the same stadium. So what do I know?
No, they used to. The Clippers built the biggest new stadium in basketball. It's pretty insane, actually. They have the scoreboard goes around the stadium. The whole stadium is wild. The
Oh wow.
Intuit Dome, but it's right next to. It's out here in Inglewood. So it's a little strange that these games are happening, even though the weather it is better today than it was. I'm sort of surprised they're playing at Staples because it's still a little bit smoky down there.
So the Clippers now play in Inglewood, where the Lakers, who used to play in Inglewood, play downtown.
Yes.
Yes. All right. It is what it is.
And I wouldn't be shocked. It really depends on how things go this morning. But things were bad overnight, but they weren't nearly as bad as they thought it could be. So hopefully they'll be able to play these games. But don't be 100%. I mean, I wouldn't be 100% shocked if they was if that was changed later today. So I don't know what that means.
Well, I hate to be insensitive, but I hate to be insensitive, but is this one of those things where it could get canceled like an hour before game time?
I think it could, and I think that it would, but I think that it would take. I think that DraftKings would probably do the right thing in that situation, and credit your late game players. But it is a tricky situation. I don't know the answer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember when they canceled the season because of COVID. They basically they canceled the last game of the slate, but like they paid the slate. You know what I mean?
Right, they paid, so it would be a free roll if they're willing to take it. But I guess I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. But
they probably should. I mean, they probably should just make it a 4-game slate.
I mean, to be honest, they probably it seems a little aggressive it's just weird that you'd move an NFL playoff game, but you wouldn't move the basketball games. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. I don't know. But we'll see.
I don't know. Anyway, so what's also pretty interesting is we'll get to this. I guess we'll just start with game by game. Is with all these games, like you got like the best spot is in the first game of the night. Okay. That being, I mean, the Minnesota spot. I have 1, 2. Do I have am I sharing my screen yet? I have like 1, 2. I have basically 4 of my top 5 and 6 of my top 8. And 7 of my top 10 values are all on the Minnesota side. Pretty much. Whole slate. That would be Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Dante Vincenzo, and with Nicole Alexander-Walker just looming behind them. they're 15-point favorite on the road. So there's obviously blowout risk and all that, but that's what it seems like right now. You want to prioritize those in any way? Do you think we should use a run from Washington?
Yeah, I like I mean, it's hard to not like that side of it, especially because things feel so cheap. It's a little weird though, because like Conley's going to be really popular and he is 3,400, but like he had 6 fantasy points in the last game, like it doesn't have to go the way where Conley gets there. Even, I mean, over his last, 8, he's averaging like 16. Now he's 3,400. So that's not even like that bad of a number, but it does feel a little like, I don't know, maybe you play Nickeil Alexander-Walker instead. Do like Edwards because the matchup's so good. I like the idea of getting to one of Edwards or Randall. Gobert is so cheap. So in terms of priorities, as of right now, I have it sort of all clogged together, but I think Gobert, Naz Reid, Edwards would be my 3 favorites right now, but it's pretty, I mean, you could make just the same case for Randall, Conley, and McDaniels. It's just such a good matchup. And DiVincenzo for that matter. So, but again, my 3 favorites right now are Gobert, Reed, and Edwards personally.
Do you like anything on the Washington side, running back, or not really?
I didn't get to it much right so far. I'm not playing a ton of lines just because if you have to move, it's hard to late swap when you're on the run. So nothing that really stood out to me. I think that if there was one play, you could take a shot with Carrington at 4,400, or you could take a shot with Joe Val. Both of those would be reasonable, but I don't think with everybody playing that as of right now that I'm that interested.
Okay. Golden State, Toronto, pretty healthy total. 228. Golden State 6-point favorite on the road. And currently, I'm getting a bunch of this, specifically from these 3 guys you see in my Sabres build here. Draymond Green, I'm getting like 60% of right now. Andrew Wiggins, and then also Grady Dick, who I really don't play all that much. But I'm getting a decent amount of him too. Any thoughts on this game? Any leans?
Yeah, so here? For the Golden State side, I think that Draymond is going to look like a pretty good play. I think that, look, Buddy Hield's been good without Curry lately, and even without the other guys, but that most of those other guys are going to be back tonight. Outside of Podziemski, Kuminga, and Payton are still out, but Wiggins, who is out, will be back. So maybe Buddy Hield is not quite the must thing that he was before, but I think that he and Draymond would be the 2 that I like the most, and I think Steph is completely reasonable at 8,800. So I actually kind of like all 3 of those guys, and for me on Toronto, it's probably Podol or Scotty Barnes or nothing. That's pretty much where I'm at. But I do think you're
so. I'm never the one to comment on what team should be favored by or whatever, and I don't know much of anything. But is this right? Like the Knicks are only projected to score like 8 more points than the Pistons at home. I thought the Knicks were supposed to be good this year.
The Pistons are much better than they were. Yeah, they've improved, but to be honest with you, the total did surprise me a little bit as well. I thought you'd see double digit favorites for the Knicks,
and the Knicks, I think, are coming off they get bludgeoned.
Yeah, they got just hammered by OKC.
Yeah, so they're going to be out to put on a better performance here. Nonetheless, I'm getting Jalen Duran as a very strong play here at 5,500. Getting him in a bunch of lineups. He has a pretty decent projection as well. I don't see him being owned all that much, which is a little surprising to me. So one of those things is probably not true. Like I probably end up not even getting that much of him, or my ownership projection is terrible and he's going to be really popular, or some combination of the 2. So, but I do have Jalen Duran as a very strong play here. And then what else do I have? I really don't have too much else in this game, honestly. I mean, you could always play Cat, I suppose, but right now it's just the Jalen Duran show for me in this game.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add really quickly to something that was said in the chat just about the game before with Toronto. They are going. Quickly is questionable as of this morning, so he may not play. If he doesn't play, I can revisit that when we go live later. Just want to throw that out there. But yeah.
Wait, who's going to be live if he's out?
I'm not entirely sure because basically everybody's priced up. He was out for most of the season, so they're kind of still priced up. But I think Scotty Barnes is a better play. RJ Barrett become more in play. Bruce Brown would probably be the one you would take a shot at 3,500, but I'd like to see what happens if he's out. I think Brown would be reasonable. But in this Detroit game, against the Knicks, I'm not really getting to all that much. I think Durant is fine. If it's a reasonable price, pivot off of Gobert, chalk, that's fine. And I think probably whether it's OG or Bridges, I kind of like OG a little bit better today, but Bridges has the higher ceiling. I think those guys are very reasonable. And then it is a good matchup for Towns, so it really depends on what kind of value does open up. If you lose quickly and Bruce Brown ends up in there, maybe we could talk ourselves into getting to Towns a little bit easier. Because I do think he's very live to have a big game in this matchup. So Towns and Anunoby and Bridges, I have a little bit interested in each. All right, we have what's next? The
Memphis and Houston. Just kind of an early look here. I'm getting Jalen Green quite a bunch at 6,800, I guess. I'm getting, let's see, looks like almost 50% of him in my initial runs here. Like 50% Jalen Green. And then what else in this game? Memphis, they can put up a lot of points, but they always seem, I don't know, it's hard to figure out who's going to be the one that smashes.
Well, especially because they've got guys coming, like you've got Morant 2 games back from the injury, so he's only playing 30 minutes a game. They basically keep their minutes low for all of them, which allows them to play at an incredible pace. So it is, you're right, it's always tricky to guess. I don't think that they're going to get any ownership whatsoever tonight. And then they're all priced as if Ja was out still, so it's a little tricky. It's really hard to get to any of them. I think you could take a shot on Ja tonight, but I think it would be just that. It would be a shot.
You like Sengun at all?
I like Van Vliet just because the pace matchup should help him. I think Cam Whitmore is okay, and then the main one is going to be Amen Thompson. That's the one I want the most of. I see Jalen is getting a little bit of love, as is Sengun. I'm not quite as high on those two as of right now. I'm sticking more with Amen or Van Vliet and a little bit of Whitmore. Certainly, Brooks is affordable, but I don't know how much I love it. We do still have Jabari Smith and Tari Eason out, and Amen Thompson has mostly been pretty great in that situation.
Now, again, there's a big gap here between those games and the last 2 games. And the majority of the plays are, in the first game and some other games. But there are a couple of randoms in these last 2 games. So, like the Clippers, I do think that I'm getting a decent projection on both on the guards here, on Harden and Norm Powell, actually. So I think they're both live. I can continue to lose money on Zubac, maybe. I have not been very successful picking his good games. But I think that the guards look good. Miami, I'm really not getting much of anybody. So what do you think? You like Harden, Powell, anybody else?
Nobody ever plays Zubac, and he smashes half the time. Like
half the time.
And I think that I think he makes a lot of sense on this kind of a slate as a way of getting a little bit different. He's my favorite play on the Clippers side. Now remember, Kawhi will play this game. He sat out before. But he's not playing. They're going to keep the minutes down. He actually was going to play the other night in Denver, but he flew home to be with his family because they were in the fires. So tonight he's supposed to be back. Now that with them playing in LA, I'm really not getting to much other than Zubac, and I have no issue with Harden because he's cheap enough. And point guards have been lighting up Miami a little bit this year. It's not like years past where you just didn't play point guards against them. The other play for me in this game would be Jaime Jaquez, and I think that would be most of my interest level. If you wanted to talk me, or if I want to talk myself into Bam, I have no issue with it. I just think I kind of like Zubac at a little bit of a cheaper price and low ownership also.
So in this last game, like the Spurs at LA, you have, I don't know if this is Wemby's first game in LA this year. I'm not sure. But it's interesting. You have these all these funny not narratives, but you got what's his name going to LA and LeBron too, and all the LA stuff with the fires. I'm sure there'll be a big thing. And yet the guys I'm getting the most of are Austin Reeves and Max Christie. I'm getting like 40% right now of Austin Reeves, and you had mentioned in previous Slate previews that he's just kind of just locked in with like these minutes. And I'm getting like a good 40% of that, 20% of the Max Christie. And as usual, I'm getting like 0 Wembanyama. And as usual, he's going to have like 45 at the half,
Right.
I'm sure. So I don't know what to do about any of that. What are your thoughts?
Reeves has been he hasn't been quite as active as I thought he would be, especially in that Houston game. He played 1 million minutes. He still put up like 39 fantasy points, but the usage is a little. I thought it was going to tick up even more. I think he still is a good tournament play, Reeves, and I am totally on board with Christie as chalk right now. Also, it's the last game, so I like the idea of having a few things I could move if I needed to.
Well, what's he been doing? What's he been doing, Chris? He's getting more
Yeah,
minutes?
he's starting. He's playing 30 to 38 minutes a game.
Oh, wow.
He's put up. He had 118 fantasy point game, but since he's been in this role, 118, 111, but everything else has been 27, 28, 43, 21. So solid enough, certainly minutes wise. He's not a high usage guy, but he's going to get some open looks from 3. He'll be on the court, and therefore we'll get some rebounds and assists, etc. Yeah, I think that I think that Anthony Davis is in play against Wemby, but I'll force in the Wemby because it's not giving me in my early builds the Wemby. I think it just makes sense on these kind of slates. I think his ceiling is so much higher than everybody else's. I mean, is it really going to surprise anybody if he has 80 plus tonight? I don't think so. Like 11-3 feels too cheap for him, and sure he'll have the occasional bad game, and this is not like against Davis, not the greatest matchup. He's coming off of only a 35 game, but before that, everything's in the 60s. I think mid 60s feels like a very reasonable thing to bet on him for tonight, and that feels like totally worth it to me, unless you want to play Davis, because I do think you're going to end up playing some centers in utility because the other center value, like with Gobert especially, does stand out, as well as guys like Podol. There's just a number of good centers that I think make a lot of sense on this slate. Wemby. Draymond, you could use it forward at least, but and Draymond, by the way, wasn't at shoot around this morning, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. That could open up more on Golden State's side of things. Jalen Duran is also a good play at center, so I do think that I'm gonna probably be looking at center and utility, partially because I want to get to some of both Wemby and Anthony Davis. And
okay. I just wanted to show you something here. Hold on a second. So this I think is kind of an interesting thing to do every once in a while. I ran 5,000 lineups, and I did run the sims. I just want to show you kind of like the differences and like what we're looking at here. So usually after I run the sims and I show everything, I show what my ownership is. I'm looking at the fadeaway, and I sort everything by ROI, and then you see the exposure. So you'll see like 62% Gobert, 59% Draymond. You see it, right? So just to kind of show you like the differences between like all these different things that you could do, like compare this, which is the lottery the lottery exposure when you rate it by ROI. We got to kind of remember this a little bit, like Gobert, Green, Durant, whatever, all around between 60 and 45%. If we looked at it instead by say just projected score, like if you rated all your 5,000 lineups just by what they project to score, you'll see like what the difference is. Like you see like if you did it that way, you'd be getting 97% like Nas Reed, 82% Gobert, 74% Conley, whatever. Now the other thing, and well, it goes to show, I mean, like that how more advanced, I mean, using Saber Sim and using the Concept Sim is, I mean, to get such a different result when you don't worry so much about median projections and more about upside and how you actually going to do from ROI perspective. The one thing you'll see, I think, I'm going to guess, when you compare sorting by ROI against the regular Saber score thing, which would be probably like large slate, 10K to 50K. Let's see what that does to this. So yeah, same thing. So when if you're going to use the Saber score method, which does provide for upside, but doesn't really factor in, the contest you're playing necessarily. Once again, they want you to really jam like this Gobert and Reed, and you compare that to say again when you go back to looking at by ROI, you'd still be getting Gobert, but not as much. But you could be a little less Nas Reed. So again, these are some things I kind of like to look at. It's going to be because you don't have to play any way you don't want to. I certainly advise you take advantage of the big, of all the upgrades and things like that. But for whatever reason, you play contest sims and you say, oh, I don't want to play this way. I'd rather just play my whatever. Know what you get yourself into. And when again, this also doesn't take into account maybe doing something with min uniques. Like just for example, if I jammed min uniques 4, just as an example, doesn't really change the ownership like in the middle too much. It just kind of like lowers a little bit of the Gobert or whatever. So I don't know. These are the things I like to kind of look at. Again, when we get to actually 6:30 or whatever it is, everything's gonna be so different anyway. But I don't know. So I guess overall, you're going to want to play the Minnesota guys in that first game, maybe some Golden States, and I mean, I guess saving some for later is fine, but the plays aren't that great. Like I didn't see anybody from Miami I liked. I didn't see anybody from San Antonio that I liked, and I guess the Lakers, Christie and Reeves. You already said that Reeves is, I don't want to say fishy, but he certainly hasn't been flashing that ceiling. So I don't know. Listen, it's a fun slate because of the timing of it all, and but I do think that a lot of the slate's going to be determined by the time those games start.
Yeah, I think that we'll probably have that stuff figured out a little bit more, and I think I just echoing sort of what Edgar's saying here in the chat. I think that getting to a lot of Houston and Golden State, I think are going to be where you're going to probably get most of your plays from on this slate until we hear about Ja Morant, who's now questionable, Draymond Green, who's out with an illness.
He's out now?
No, he's. I'm sorry. He was out at not a shoot around with an illness.
Oh,
so we don't know what's going to happen with him. And then quickly, we don't know about him either. So I think there's definitely going to be news that we hear about before 6 Eastern that we can go on. And when you jump on a little later, I might jump off a little shortly after, just because I've had a little trouble going up to lock and being able to edit my stuff as efficiently as I'd like to. But I'll probably get off at 6:45 or something like that.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, good luck to everybody today. Hope everybody has a good day. And hopefully things stay clear enough and they can play these games tonight for many reasons.
When do you want to do the football?
I was going to do it. I was thinking after NBA locks.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right, bud. Take it easy.
I'm gonna do a preview myself at
okay.
Like 1.
If you're doing it at 1, I'll be in there.
Okay, great.
Right,
so see you at 1.
Good luck, everybody.
Okay, later.